And again, it's just about information, especially when you talk about things that are security issues for officers. That gets pushed out right away. As soon as they start their car up, and log in, they're going to get that information. They don't have to, it's on a memo hanging on a bulletin board back at the office. They have it right there in front of them. So, the advances and the pros to it is just, unlimited. I mean, it's just everything about it is just great.
You're listening to Precinct 444, a podcast network from the National Law Enforcement Museum. Today we're bringing you an episode from Lifeline, offering a holistic wellness approach focused on supporting American law enforcement, promoting resilience, safety, and survivability.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again here at the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial and Museum and our recurring Precinct 444 podcast series, where we try to interview and connect with people all across the law enforcement spectrum to help tell their stories as they are working to support and oftentimes work in the law enforcement field. And today is another in our series of talking with our corporate partners, the organizations that often make money, look to support charitable causes that further their brand and, most importantly, support missions that they view as integral and important to the broader fabric of our national community. And the reality is that we as an organization, as so many in our audience know, we have existed since our origination in 1984 through to today entirely on donations. We could not do what we do in terms of honoring the fallen and telling their stories, particularly here at the museum, without the support of so many across the country, but really without the support of our corporate partners. We just could not survive. We could not do this great and amazing work. And today we're here to connect with and help tell the story of one of those corporate partners who has been a longtime supporter of ours and certainly integral most recently with our efforts across Police Week, and that is Tyler Technologies. And so we're so incredibly appreciative for them, and we're incredibly appreciative for them to be able to take some time today and bring with them the sheriff and a major from the Stark County Sheriff's Office in Ohio to sort of highlight what Tyler Tech is doing to support law enforcement. So today, joining me today, I'm so pleased and honored to introduce Paul Case, who's a vice president from Tyler Technologies, and Sheriff Eric Weisburn and Major Mitchell Paulen from the Stark County Sheriff's Office. So I'll give the audience a little intro for each of you. Paul Case is vice president and general manager at Tyler Technologies and has more than 15 years of experience working with law enforcement at Tyler Tech, focusing on client success, retention, and operational excellence. Sheriff Eric Weisburn's career began in 1991 as a corrections officer before becoming a deputy sheriff in 1998, later transitioning to the investigations division, specializing in child sex and physical abuse cases. Wow, those are really, really tough cases. I feel for you, Sheriff. More posts followed throughout his career, including as lead investigator in the high-profile Jessie Marie Davis missing person case, which garnered national attention. After advancing through the ranks, he campaigned to improve workplace culture and bring more effective leadership to the sheriff's office. And ultimately, he took office as sheriff of Stark County this year. Congratulations, Sheriff. Committed to enhancing public safety and strengthening the office's service to the community. And finally, also joining us today is Major Mitchell Paulen. He's a veteran of the U.S. Army, having served for 6 years as a member of the Military Police Corps. He joined the Stark County Sheriff's Office in 2012 as a corrections officer, and while working full-time, also attended the University of Akron and majored in cyber security. After graduation, he became a certified information security manager, and today he is the Chief Information Officer at the Stark County Sheriff's Office, overseeing both the office's intelligence center and its technology. Major Paulen's focus has been shifting technology from legacy infrastructure to cloud-hosted deployments, which I suspect will be a focus of our conversation today. So, gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce you here and welcome you to the Memorial Funds podcast. So, hello, Paul. I'll start with you. Any starting words or thoughts before we dive in?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. I always enjoy talking about law enforcement technology and how Tyler can make an impact in that. And pleased to have Stark County Sheriff and the Major joining today, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
And Sheriff, how about you? Again, pleasure to have you here, and thank you for joining.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. And thank you for what you do for the fallen officers and keeping their memory alive. Hats off to you. I know it's probably one of the best jobs you've ever had, I would imagine. But to be that close to it and making such an impact in people's lives, kudos to you. And as you said, you couldn't do it without your partners. And I know Tyler has been a big part of that. Kudos to them as well for their commitment to the law enforcement community. And again, keeping the memory of those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, keeping that memory, at the forefront so that people do understand the sacrifices that law enforcement makes in the community.
Well, thank you, Sheriff. And Major, I welcome you as well. Thank you so much for taking some time to have a conversation with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Well, thank you again, Sheriff. Of course, we talked before. Much of the audience is probably familiar with my story. I served for 25 years in the Prince George's County Police Department, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. And during my 25 years, we lost 16 of my peers. 16 happened to be all men whose names are now on what I think everyone on this call view as very sacred walls. And of course, I don't even mention that to make the story about me, but I don't think I'm unique. So many in our profession know someone whose name is now on those very sacred walls. So the memorial itself has been and continues to be really the cornerstone of our organization. And we're so incredibly thankful for those who are willing to help and support that mission of honoring what is today 24,067 men and women whose names are on our walls. And this year we will be adding 345 new names, joining their brothers and sisters, and a continuing, of course, very tragic but historical addition of new names every single year. And that is coming up very, very shortly here in the spring. So thank you all again for joining us, and thank you for helping to tell another chapter, another version or a part of the broader law enforcement story. And again, we're really focused on Tyler Tech. So Paul, I'll start with you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your role at Tyler Technologies and your sort of broad experience with the law enforcement community and how Tyler Tech maybe interfaces with that community?
Yeah, Bill, my role is really centered around ensuring that our public safety clients have the tools, the support and technology they need to serve their communities effectively. So been with Tyler for 15 years, and most of my career has been spent in client success. So working closely with law enforcement agencies across the U.S. to help them optimize their use of technology and navigate the evolving challenges of public safety. For the past 5 years, I've had the privilege of leading our client success and support services organization, where it's really where my team and I focus on building long-term partnerships with our clients. So we work to ensure that our solutions, and that could be anything from CAD to records, mobile applications, jail, analytics tool, not only meeting today's needs, but also evolving for the future. And a key part of that is driving adoption. So working with agencies like Stark County to make sure that they fully integrate and utilize the technology to the greatest potential, and they're maximizing their investment in Tyler. So when agencies adopt and embrace these tools, it's really around efficiency, collaboration, and overall effectiveness and how they serve their communities. But I would say one of the most rewarding aspects of my role is seeing how our technology makes a real difference in the field. So law enforcement professionals, they face immense challenges every day, and it's our job to make sure that they have the best possible tools to do their jobs safely and efficiently.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Well, I know that law enforcement is always looking for new and innovative ways to push their mission out and push it forward and find new tools to allow their officers to both save time on calls for service and also sort of maximize their ability to have an influence on the community. So I know Tyler is becoming a major player in that space. So thank you very much. Sheriff, I'll switch to you, not necessarily specific to Tyler Tech, but I'm interested. Tell me a little bit about Stark County. What is sort of your broad approach to public safety, and what are some of the challenges that you and your community are facing today?
Well, thank you. Yeah, let's talk about Stark County. So, Stark County is a great community to live in. I've lived here my entire life. You mentioned earlier on, I started my career here back in 1991, and the changes that I see now to what we had in 91, are crazy with the ever evolving technology and the availability for law enforcement to have real time, at the moment, information, right in front of them. It's just crazy to think about how things were 30 some years ago. We just were relying on your dispatcher to talk to you across the radio. So, I guess the goal there is to try to stay on top of this. And with Tyler, and them providing the tools that they provide us, our deputies that are out on the road, I feel very comfortable have the best information available to them. They can instantly look up information on somebody with photos and stuff that I never would have dreamt of 30 some years ago. Would have loved to have that technology. But we got to stay current with that, right? So something that's, hot and trending today, in 5 years, maybe out of date, because there's something better. So we have to remain focused on always evolving in our world of technology, and not just technology, and everything we do in this line of work, right? Whether it's talking to people, providing services for our community, you always have to stay on the cutting edge of that. But technology, is a huge part of that anymore. My gosh, the cruisers, back in the day, I just had a notebook and, some accident reports in my folder. Now they have, computers and the GPS and the body cams and, everything they need, the citations to write them right there and print them right from the car. And that's great because not only does that save time, honestly, I can get my deputy back out there patrolling the community faster. I think there's going to be less errors because the information is all right there. We could streamline all that. But paramount above all of that is the safety that provides my deputies. And obviously just not mine, but throughout the nation. But let's talk about Stark County, right? My goal is to protect my deputies, protect my citizens. And with this technology and with Tyler being the great partner they've been with us, and quite honestly, having my chief information officer here, Major Paulen, staying on top of this and actually, bringing me along because technology has changed. Even just in the 3 years that I was gone from here, so much has advanced with the technology. So I want to make sure that you understand my commitment to stay current with that and to work with Tyler and to build upon what we currently have and even be, even further ahead here in the future. So I'm really excited about that. And again, it boils right down to that's going to keep my officers safe. It's going to keep my community safer, and I'm going to provide better services to everyone in Stark County.
Well, thank you. Paul, we're obviously talking a little bit here about, while he was talking generally about public safety there in Stark County, he's talking about what appears to be a specific product there by Tyler Tech. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the product that Tyler Tech is offering, maybe specific to Stark County, and just so everyone is familiar as we start talking about it maybe a little bit more, what is cloud computing or cloud technology as it relates to the Tyler Tech product?
Yeah, at its core, cloud technology really refers to delivering computing services, like the storage, the servers, databases, networking, software and analytics over the internet or the cloud, instead of relying on local servers or personal computers or the on-prem version of that. So this allows users really to access data and applications from anywhere using any device as long as you have an internet connection. What it means for law enforcement and public safety agencies is it really provides the enhanced security, scalability, the reliability. It's ensuring the critical systems are always accessible while reducing the burden of maintaining on-premise infrastructure. So it means less downtime, fewer IT headaches, the reduced time spent calling into support. So again, Tyler, our goal is simple. Let us handle the technology so Stark County and our other cloud clients can focus on what they do best, which is protect and serve.
Yeah, I was thinking in my own head, another great part of this technology package, especially with it being on the cloud, is I just remember on my department, the forms for everything would constantly change, and every single police officer had in his or her, pocket or in their little tool bag, a thumb drive with what they thought was all the latest reports. But of course, every single person had a different version of the report, and so this word was changed there. I think one of the massive benefits for the cloud is that, if the sheriff says, hey, I want to change this form or I want to add something, everybody has it in real time, and the form is everyone's operating off the same thing. So that's got to be a great benefit. Sheriff, I'm curious, what do you see as the advantage for this cloud technology specific to law enforcement agencies, especially compared to, say, traditional systems, which we've sort of been glancing off of here?
Well, I think you hit on some of this too, is that we get those changes in real time. All right. So anytime we want to push out something new, we don't have to go around and change everyone's computer. And again, I'm not the tech guy here, but you know what I mean? To upload the new information on that computer, and then make sure you get this guy's computer and that lady's computer. And here, it's just you tell one person, he pushes it out, it goes to everybody, they have it in real time. And again, just having that, right away in real time, it's just fascinating to me that that we've evolved to that point. And again, it's just about information, especially when you talk about things that are security issues for officers. That gets pushed out right away. As soon as they start their car up, and log in, they're going to get that information. They don't have to, it's on a memo hanging on a bulletin board back at the office. They have it right there in front of them. So, the advances and the pros to it is just, unlimited. I mean, it's just everything about it is just great.
Yeah, I completely agree. Major, if you want to chime in, report writing, and I'm old enough too, much like I suspect the sheriff there. When I first got on the job, there was no such thing as a computer in your car. You were writing a report on a piece of paper. And I remember my senior corporal, he had a rule that said no whiteout. So if you messed up a word, you were rewriting the entire report, which I'm sure is, that's dinosaur talk now. But Major, tell me what, report writing is obviously an incredibly huge part of an officer's job. Tell me a little bit about, Tyler Tech's solution here and how it may have helped streamline your process.
Sure. So during our original deployment, we were field mobile, and we shifted over to Tyler's new web-based report writing, which allows us to do those cases over the web in the web-based portal, allowing us to do them from anywhere, making that an ease of access for our deputies. But not only that, it's done in real time. So any IBR errors, they can see that as they do their report. And also, we're allowing those other officers that may have been on that call to add those supplements in real time while the original reporting officer is completing his report, meaning it's just quicker, it saves time, and that process is a lot more streamlined now.
There must be some mechanism built in where there's an approval process where, say, the officer writes the report, but it's reviewed by someone in their chain of command, a supervisor or something, and then they can go back and make corrections if they need to.
Yeah, so our flow is the officer writes their report. From there, they submit it, and then their patrol supervisor or their supervisor of the shift would then review that report for any errors or any changes that may need to be made. From there, they can kick it back to that officer to finalize it and make those changes, or send it to the records management system.
Yeah. Gosh, that's such a simplified and streamlined flow for reports. It's hard to even convey how much time that can save in an officer's day-to-day interactions, and how that's allowing officers to, do their actual job of police work and responding to calls versus sitting in a car writing a report. Sheriff, I'm wondering, is there an example of how, say, Tyler's Tech has directly benefited Stark County, either the department or the community?
I think I know I'm not trying to repeat the same thing we said, but I think how they've helped us out is, just streamlining everything. Mm-hmm. I think that's just, again, I love the fact that I can get my officer back out there to patrol the neighborhoods, to be seen, because everyone wants more police officers in their neighborhood, right? Back in my day, back in the day, we'd go find a parking lot someplace, and we would sit in a parking lot and fix those reports. And you talked about having no whiteout. And it was the same rule here, no whiteout. But we had triplicates. Our reports were triplicates. If you remember the 3 different color pages.
I do.
So that meant you had to take like an old typewriter eraser, the one with the brush on the other end, and you'd have to go and you'd have to erase where you got to fit a word in. Maybe you forgot the in a sentence, and you got to go and erase so you get enough space so you can add the on all 3 pages. Yeah. Just looking back at it, it's almost hilarious to think about the time I spent tucked away in a parking lot, just fixing my reports. And as you said, and look, we all make mistakes, right? So when the sergeant kicked back the report, you missed a word, you misspelled a word, you whatever, it took that time. Well, that's time I wasn't patrolling. I was doing my job. It wasn't like I was hiding, but I was doing my job. But it became the main focus of my job was those reports. Now, I think how their technology has helped us is the main focus now, the reports are like, oh, I can do that report real quick. And I can just type it up here real quick. All the information is already there. Click here, click there. The guy's name's inserted, and the booking paperwork and everything is just so much faster now. And when you have those mistakes, you can make those repairs faster. So as sheriff, I love the fact that when people come up to me and go, I need to see patrol cars in my neighborhood more, now they actually are seeing them more because they're not spending the amount of time that they used to having to fix reports and do reports. Look, this job would be a blast if we never had to do a report, right? We'd have so much more fun out there being police officers and deputy sheriffs if we didn't have to do a report. We got to do the reports. So if you got to do them, let's do them as fast as we can, as efficient as we can, as professional as we can, and get them behind you and get moving on with business. And that's where they've really come into play for us. And it's just win-win on that.
I could not agree more.
All three of you didn't get into law enforcement for report writing?
No, I didn't even share the fact that I used to carry like a spell checker and a dictionary, one of those looked like a little credit card, but that's how you typed words and you didn't know how to spell. I knew how to say the words, I just didn't know how to spell the words. So that's going back in time. So yeah, I'm glad we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I also had a dictionary and a thesaurus in my cruiser that I kept in there.
Yep.
What were you going to say, Major?
I believe, the way that it's different in Stark County, looking back from our deployment and going through with Paul, some of the things he touched on as an IT manager, just less overhead for IT, mitigation of risk. We're transferring some of our risk over to Tyler Technologies, so it's just less for us to bear. But we're also differing as a county as a multi-agency interoperable solution. So it's not just Stark County on this platform. We have 4 other agencies on this platform with us to help with the data sharing, getting information out between agencies. We provide an analytics center as well. So we had a unique deployment being one of the first few cloud customers, but also with our multi-agency tenant.
Oh, that's really interesting. I was just getting ready to ask, of course, we've been talking about report writing and sort of the unfun side of the police world, but is there part of this technology solution that is helping you in, say, tactical situations? I can remember responding to barricades and having very little information. Of course, the dispatcher's trying to send you stuff, but I have to assume that information flow is one of the advantages of this. Is there a tactical situation or some sort of emergent situation you all had that Tyler Technology was facilitating an advantage there beyond just the report writing side?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a hardball question there. It's a specific incident. I think that I'll be honest. I can't recall a specific incident, but I can recall basically every incident because they're there constantly helping us on every call. That we just take for granted when we have a bad call. Okay, if I can call it that, or I was going to say something else, but that desperate call. It's just we just expect it to work, and it does. We expect to have that information in real time, and we do. So it's kind of funny you ask that question, and I reflect on it. And I go, "Gosh, we're spoiled, aren't we?" Because whether it's no one likes to hear a routine call, right? But quote unquote, if it's a routine call, the information's there. If it's an oh crap call, the information's there. We just expect it to be there, and it's there every time. So it's hard for me to go, "Oh yeah, this one time we really needed it, and it was there." It's there all the time. So, I think that, gosh, I feel spoiled now that I can't recall like, oh, this is the one that saved an officer's life, no, it's there all the time. So I think on every call, it's there helping save that officer's life. I think it's without a doubt, and if alert goes out and, you get those blue alerts and you get the alerts and that information's out, everybody has it right away. And so it is proving itself with every single call we go to.
Yeah, it's deeply integrated now. Technology is more integrated than it has been. So, and we always have that at our fingertips, as the sheriff said. We also have our analytics to map out crime trends, heat maps. We use Enforcement Mobile at our OVI checkpoints, the mobile device that prints tickets, and you do it all on an Android device. So it's all streamlining.
Yeah.
I suppose
And
you look at,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry,
Paul.
Bill. You just look at level of adoption when I look at our clients. So you kind of reestablish your baseline of how you use the software, and you just get comfortable. So you look at it in CAD, where you have, it could be responding to storms, and you have road closures or power line down, things like that are marked on map, and you're rerouting based on that. Once you get comfortable using that, that becomes the new norm, and that's into your day to day. And now it's what new feature functionalities are coming that your agency can adopt as we continue to invest in our technology and our enhancements in development.
No, that's perfect. Well, Paul, shifting back to you, you're obviously part of your day job is thinking about how Tyler technology can support law enforcement agencies, maybe not just Stark County, but more broadly across the whole profession. What are you and your team looking at to sort of support law enforcement and the agencies who are using your technology?
Yeah, we've touched on a few things that I think are really important to highlight here. And one, the sheriff had mentioned, just being able to stay current, and being in the cloud really changes our ability and how we support our clients like Stark County. Going through this report writing implementation, how quickly we're able to turn around fixes to Stark County we're proactively seeing these as they're using the software and providing fixes without them even knowing, which is huge difference compared to on-prem, where find an issue, call it in support, triage, work through an upgrade path that could take 6 to 9 months until you get that release. So it's, for us, the ability to support Stark County the way we do, it's because of them being in the cloud. And that's where our investment goes as well. So moving forward, we'll continue to invest in cloud because of the experience we want to create for our clients, similar to what we're doing for Stark County today. But overall, in just the support of agencies, I mean, continuity in public safety is absolutely critical. So you look at emergencies don't wait for ideal conditions. So natural disaster, cyber attacks, just a routine system update. Agencies need to be prepared to keep operations running no matter what. And I think so the sheriff had hit on, it's the reliability of Tyler and what we provide, that they need that system up and operational at all times. So, when we look at Stark County, we don't look at them as just a customer. We see them as a partner for life. And our approach this isn't about making a sale and moving on. And, we're really in it for the long haul and providing that continuity in both our products and our people. And it really comes back to Stark County's decision to move to the cloud, which they're leveraging today.
I think uptime has got to be probably near the top of the stack in terms of desirability, in terms of features. And the officers, depending on what they see now as this new incredible tool, has got to be at the top of the list, making sure the thing is on and working. And I'm sure Tyler Tech is constantly thinking about ways to backstop that. Paul, I'm curious. Tell me about what if any, upcoming features or innovations do you see in the pipeline there at Tyler Tech, and how, if at all, do you see sort of technology systems evolving to help law enforcement in the coming years?
Yeah, so two-part question there. I would say more on some of the features that we're focused on, or some of the areas we're focused on outside of cloud, which we've talked about. That's been a major investment for Tyler. But one thing we're looking at is more on the data sharing or cross agency search. So when you look at the bad guys don't stop at the city, county, or state line. So a major focus for us is how do we enable better collaboration both within and across agencies. So historically, there's been technology limitations that really acted as barriers on how we can get agencies working together and sharing data. But with the advancements of cloud technologies and AI, we now have the ability to break down those barriers and unlock some new potential. So that's going to be an area we focus on, and how we share information more easily between agencies. We've been rolling out our Tyler Alliance program, which is a game changer for improving cross-system collaboration. So it's really streamlining the data between records management and our jail management system. So that's been a major focus for us. So, for example, once a hearing's scheduled, Alliance can distribute the hearing information to schedule for transport if in custody, or notify the arresting officer, or alert the prosecutor, or if on supervision, notifying that officer. So that's another area that we've been focused on is Tyler Alliance, and working with a client like Stark County who is licensed for all of our applications, allows them to be on the leading edge to be able to take advantage of this product development and these integrations that we're developing. And then I would say the third item, which we've already talked about, is the report writing. It's a new tool that's designed to streamline the process of collecting these statements and property details and more. And Stark County's taken advantage of that. And one of our first clients to take advantage of that. And we ran a small pilot with them and proved its success and rolled it out across the county there. But we're seeing agencies that are saving upwards of 50% of the time on report writing, so they can focus their time more on what matters most. So I would say those are probably the three, as far as innovation goes, at Tyler, that's driving the future of public safety.
Wow, that's a huge time savings for the officers. 50%, that's a massive, because the reality is, that the sheriff already touched on, reality is most police officers historically have spent most of their day writing reports versus doing police work. So that's a massive thing. You mentioned, Paul, AI at the start of your answer. Do you see AI playing a role in report writing, particularly sort of juxtaposed against the LLMs of the day, say ChatGPT or something similar? Is that coming in the pipeline?
Yeah, it's definitely a major trend that we're seeing, and two of the trends, cloud and AI, probably the two that we're very focused on here at Tyler. But yeah, major trend that is shaping the future is AI, and it's what we're seeing is the transformative potential of technologies like you just mentioned, Chat GPT, which can process and analyze information in ways that were unimaginable just a few years ago. We have several clients that are already leveraging AI in various areas, and we're excited about the innovations on the horizon to enhance public safety and some of the investments we're starting to make in that space.
Wow. Well, it's certainly exciting years coming up for sure. Sheriff and Major Paulson, switching back to you all, are there any, you've gone through this transition now, you're using the product, but certainly when you were considering the switch, you as, senior leaders of your organization must have recognized there is some risk in going with something new, right? There might be some pitfall. There might be some downside that we haven't accounted for. Do you find any risk there now? Is there any part of the process you wish you knew a few years ago versus what you know now? Is there anything that an agency thinking about switching to a cloud-based product like this should be thinking about before they make the transition?
As we look at it more, we see more things shifting to the cloud. So cloud computing is becoming more of the future and just more natural. Doing this originally, we came from that legacy infrastructure, and we were maybe a little fearful of the lift and shift. Is the data all going to be there? Are we going to lose anything? What's the downtime going to look like? What's the downtime going to look like with the cloud for service updates and patches? But overall, our business continuity has been very strong. It's minimal downtime. We get a once a month, about 1 hour, not even window. It's about 15, 20 minutes of an outage. And then we're back online with the newest improvements and fixes. Right, Sheriff?
Yeah, no, you did great. Yeah.
Well, it really is an incredible part of the story. So many law enforcement agencies are focused on, the big high level issues of the day, whether that's recruitment or retention, or how do we respond to the big event of the day and keep the homicide number low, right? But really this sort of what we're talking about to here today really is in big ways the meat and potatoes of law enforcement agencies all across the country, is about organizing, sharing, compiling the data that the police departments collect, making it easier for officers to collect and note and document that data, and then being able to share it back out to the agency writ large. It really is a huge and really key piece for law enforcement agencies across the country, I think. And certainly that's the story that you all have helped tell here today. Paul, I'll switch to you again. Just sort of some closing thoughts. What do you think keeps Tyler Technologies motivated to think about and collaborate with and work with law enforcement agencies?
Yeah, and I mentioned it before. We treat our clients as more than just customers. They're our partners, And every time we help an agency streamline operations, improve efficiency, or make critical decisions faster, we know we're making a real impact on officer safety, community well-being, justice outcomes. So seeing our technology in action, helping first responders, solving cases, protecting communities, it's really what drives us every day. And at the end of the day, we do this work because we believe in the mission of law enforcement, and we're here to support our clients with the best technology so they can stay focused on protecting and serving.
Well, again, we here at the Memorial Fund are so appreciative of Tyler Tech, and I'm really excited to know that Tyler Tech is out there. Of course, not just supporting us in our mission, but supporting law enforcement do their job. I think this is an absolutely critical part of the overall mission of law enforcement agencies, and it's really exciting to see these technologies flourish out in the field and help agencies become better. So, really a lot of love coming from everyone in law enforcement who sees and is able to work with these tools. Sheriff and Major, is there anything you want to share as a sort of a closing thought here with the listeners, either about Stark County's approach to public safety or Tyler Tech's role in sort of supporting your mission there?
Well, sure. First of all, I can't tell you how proud we are to serve the citizens of Stark County. It's an honor to do so. They've entrusted us to do the right things, and by gosh, we're going to do the right things. And this is part of that. And it's the backside of it. The important part of doing our job is having the technology, having the resources we need, and that's why we're going to continue. That's why we're going to continue improving with Tyler. We're going to streamline things so it makes my deputies safer on the street. We're going to make sure that we continue to do so because it's a challenge out there, right? And it's always changing. And we got to stay ahead of that challenge. We got to meet that challenge or overcome that challenge or whatever the words are there to do it right. And with Tyler, we're able to meet our challenges, have the information we need to do our jobs effectively. And quite honestly, it's just it's just about protecting my deputies. All right. I need them to be safe out there. I need them to get real time information. I don't need their jobs to be any more difficult than it already is. I don't need them to add more stress. This eliminates some of that stress because I'll tell you, and again, I'm the old guy here in the podcast right now, I guess, but I remember, going to calls at 3 a.m, 2 a.m, or 2 p.m, whatever that was. You don't have all the information and you don't really know who you're coming up against. And I don't think there's a law enforcement officer out there. If they are, they're lying. It's scary to approach a car at 2 a.m. on a traffic stop. We do it. Do it again today and tomorrow and every day after. But it's so nice to have that real information before you even go up and see what's going to happen when you approach that car. And with that real time, you run that plate and boom, you got the information right away. Here's probably who your driver is. Here, do they have, warrants out on them? Is there any precautions or, we didn't have that back in the day, right? You went up and said, hi, this is who I am. Who are you? And why are you speeding? Now we have a lot of that information before we even step out of our car. And again, I'm going to throw it right back to that makes it safer, that protects the deputies in not only Stark County, but any other county and city or township or wherever else you're at in this nation. You got to have that information for your law enforcement officers. You have to. It's costly, right? It's not cheap. It doesn't come cheap. No offense, but you got to pay for what you get. And if you want the best, you got to go with the best. And if you want to protect your people, you can't just stand on a hillside and say, I want to protect them and then not do anything about it. We want to protect them, and here's what we're going to do about it. We're going to invest in things that help them. That's what we're doing it for. Yes, to better serve our community, but I'll tell you quite honestly, at the end of the day, is to keep my deputies safe. Nobody wants to be on that wall. That's right.
Absolutely. Trying to keep those names off of our
sacred wall. You got to get that number down, and that's what we're going to do. All right.
Of course, the sheriff is referencing the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. When we talk about the walls, it's right here in Washington, D.C., where I work. And I'm very humbled to be able to walk those walls every day. And to some degree, when I walk those walls, I feel a heavy weight, a weight of responsibility and an honorable responsibility of helping to tell the stories of those men and women. And I'm only able to do it by virtue of knowing that so many out there are sharing that burden with me, like you two and your entire agency. And not just those in law enforcement, but also citizens across the country. And thankfully for me, a few select corporate partners who are willing to support our mission, like Tyler Technologies. And I'm, again, so incredibly appreciative. Well, gentlemen, Sheriff Eric Weisburn, Major Mitchell Paulen from the Stark County Sheriff's Office, and Paul Case, VP from Tyler Technologies. I am really, really thankful and grateful for you all taking a few minutes of what I'm sure is a busy day for all of you to come help tell another part of the law enforcement story, telling that part of the story, which might not be super sexy, but is an integral part of every single law enforcement agency's mission, which is recording and thinking about data and collecting that and being able to put it back into use either through the agency or inside the community. Tyler Technologies, again, all of us here at the Memorial Fund are so incredibly appreciative for your support and helping us to compel our mission forward, to honor those men and women whose names are on our very sacred wall and tell their stories here in the museum. And thank you even more for helping and supporting law enforcement, the active and ongoing mission across the entire country. More than 800,000 men and women in uniform, more than 18,000 individual agencies, all of whom are working every single day to keep their community safe. And this is definitely one of those tools that is helping them do their job. So Tyler Technologies, thank you so much. Is there anything, gentlemen, I missed that you wish I would have asked or that you would like to say before we depart?
I think you covered it very well, and I thank you again for your work that you do. I thank you for bringing us on this podcast to tell you a little bit of our story and who we are here in Stark County and the partnership that we have with Tyler. And I look forward to seeing what the future brings.
As do I. Paul, any closing thoughts before we?
No, I appreciate the time today, and on behalf of Tyler, we look forward to continuing to support the foundation moving forward.
Well, thank you so much.
Please subscribe to Precinct 444 on your favorite podcasting platform to stay connected and to receive our latest content as soon as it drops. We would love to hear from you. Send in your questions, comments, and feedback to precinct444@nleomf.org. You can help us make our content even better. The National Law Enforcement Museum is located at 444 East Street Northwest in Washington, D.C., and is dedicated to telling the story of American law enforcement. We expand and enrich the relationship between law enforcement and the community through educational journeys, immersive exhibitions, and insightful programs. Find us online at lawenforcementmuseum.org and stay tuned for more podcast content from Precinct 444. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you at the precinct.